what I've done is chapter by chapter only focused on real food or whole and unprocessed food.
That was one of the first things I learned from you.
Really?
Yeah, what is processed food? What is real food? 90% of the stuff in the grocery store is not real food.
It's not real food.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you that it's not real food. And so if you accept that, okay, here's the thinking, right? If you accept that your health is going to improve and your weight or your bottom line, whatever I don't care.
And it's not going to cost more because we already covered the food waste.
Oh no, it's definitely not going to cost more. And also, let's talk about healthcare costs.
But before that, can you give the viewers a quick synopsis of what is a whole food versus a processed food?
Yes.
Like a 2-minute version.
Absolutely. Whole foods are real food. I put it into real food and then processed food. And real fast. Real food is picked, harvested, slaughtered, or fished as close to its original state as possible. Period. Now, this is going to, the rest of it is going to encompass why the problem is so deep and wide. Every single other thing is a processed food. Now, that isn't to tell you that some processing isn't beneficial.
Heritage processing.
That's right. You
Been
remembered.
around, girl. I screenshotted that thing. It's in my Google Drive.
That's awesome. So one of the things that you get with Cook is my webinar. It's actually comes as a freebie.
Is that what I took?
Yes.
Yeah, I loved that.
It's a webinar that teaches food processing so that you can go to the grocery store and make good decisions for yourself without a lot of like consternation, and also not falling for health washed stuff, right? But
Well, like what you were sharing was the most clear thing I'd ever heard, and it made sense. You know, like I felt so overwhelmed. I'd been doing my own personal research, but then when I watched your webinar about processed foods, it all clicked. It was simple.
yeah.
And it made sense scientifically, conceptually, and I do think that even though Jonathan and I were doing a lot of the right things before, I shared what I learned, and I think we both deepened our knowledge, and I do think that further optimized what we were doing. It was sort of like a gateway to the next level.
Yes,
like
that's
he was already like ahead of me in terms of knowledge, but it opened me up to a whole other world of health stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, I eat entirely on the food processing scale. And what I think people don't understand is that a lot of what you see is actually ultra processed food. And
Cereal.
Cereal is for sure.
Chips?
Chips for the most part. They don't have to be. That can fall under moderate processing.
What about protein bars?
Ultra processed.
What about protein shakes?
Ultra processed.
Yeah. And why is that bad? Why is the processing bad?
Well, what is done to a food affects how your body takes it in. And that affects your endocrine system, it affects you metabolically, it affects how many calories. Now, I'm not a calorie counter, but I'm going to tell you that for a unit of energy, we're going to use the calorie appropriately. You use more of it. When you eat food that's whole foods, that has fiber built into it, 30% of the calories never even get taken in by your body. You get a quick haircut right there, but you have more feelings of fullness. You have all kinds of good things that come from that.
Yes, and I've noticed, and that speaks also to like saving money and like not buying in bulk. Jonathan and I, since we've switched to like, I think 90% or more like whole foods, like cutting out the processed stuff, I think that like our portion size is so much smaller, and I have never once felt like I've had to go hungry, deprive myself of flavor, of like excitement, of energy. Like it's crazy how like the quantity of a whole food to fill you up and make you feel good and give you the energy you need is so much less than eating like a ton of cereal or a ton of protein bars or whatever.
There's a design, but that is by design.
So you'll buy more and gain weight.
That's right.
And then end up in the healthcare system.
Yes. And if you think those two, and look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, me either. But I mean, it is what's happening, whether it was intentional or not.
Exactly.
So
that's right. That's exactly right. And look, the way that I think about it is, I want my decisions to be mine. I want to decide. I want to listen to my hunger. I want to decide.
Yeah, that's what I do. I eat when I'm hungry.
That's it. But you can't do that with food processing.
Because you're always hungry. I mean, you're hungry often.
It's the trace amounts of sugar. A lot of people don't know this, but a little bit of sugar in your gut actually stimulates your hunger for quite a bit, many more hours later. It's not about like I ate a ton of sugar or not. And if you're eating processed food, 76%, okay, this is for your audience, 76% of any food put into a package has added sugar. So you're essentially microdosing yourself all day long.
And I've noticed that. So my whole life, part of my assumed identity is I have a sweet tooth. I love sweets.
Your assumed identity. I
my
love that.
assumed
I love that.
False self.
Yes.
Was that I had a sweet tooth and I loved candy and chocolate and cake and all the treats, the little treat culture.
Yes, treat
I did
culture.
something, time for a little treat.
That drives me nuts. It drives me crazy. It really does.
Well, now I see through it because I was part of that, and so was Jonathan. He would go to the bakery, and granted, that was fresh baked, so a little bit better, but...
Yeah.
And, there's nothing wrong with indulging in a treat occasionally, but I will say, due to, what I had to cut out to work through the IBS symptoms that I mentioned, that involved cutting out all sweets except for dark chocolate and like fruits, like things that occur naturally. I don't miss it. My sweet tooth is gone. Like, I do not crave sugar. I don't want it at all.
You're not triggering yourself constantly.
It took about 30 days, though, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I'm not going to tell you it's not a process, but...
Yeah.
And, one of the easy ways to sort of pull yourself from that is to start cooking in your own kitchen. And you can do it gradually.
And that'll save money, too.
100%. You can do it progressively. You don't need to. The diet culture says, wake up and I'm going to be different. Yep. And I'm going to
New Year's resolution.
Yes, which I also hate, and I'm sure you do too for a variety
Josh
of reasons.
of the Minimalists, he posts the same thing on January 1st every year. One day or day one.
Yes.